Hi, and welcome to section 5, where we take a look at how we actually build a deep learning facial recognition system in Python using VGGFace. So now let's move on into our IPython notebook. So we're actually continuing with the same IPython notebook that we used in the last video that's titled 17 Facial Recognition with VGGFace. So, we've been scrolling through this notebook, going through the similarity of faces part of it, and now we've step down into the facial recognition with one-shot learning. So let's take a look at this, okay? So now I've put some instructions here for you, okay? What we're going to do, we're going to firstly use some code here that extracts faces from pictures of people, all right? So this is some OpenCV code that I've wrote here, not only OpenCV, but it actually does a bunch of other things, uses horror facial detector to extract the faces, and then stores it in the folder here, which is titled people. I'm going to bring it up shortly for you guys. And what it's going to do, it's going to run through this directory here, people here. And then it's going to store the faces in a directory called group of faces. And it's going to put the name face underscore, whatever the name was in the original directory. So let's just run this quickly. This one is Jennifer Lopez, Lady Gaga, my wife, me. And there we go. So just those 4 faces. All right. And let us bring up my Windows Explorer so you can see the directories of where and how it was stored. So remember, we had people. People was stored in this directory here, just the 4 of us. And groups of faces, let's go to this one, is where it stores our faces. So we actually have 2 faces here from previous time I ran this code. So these are just the 4 you should be seeing here. All right. So now let's move on to the code where we load our VGGFace model here, code that you have seen before, and loading the preprocess function that we use. We don't need to load it twice, but just in case you didn't load it before. So let's run this, and it's going to print model loaded at the end when it's finished. So now we can actually start using this model on our webcam. So what's going to happen? How does this actually work? What did we do so far? So what we're doing so far, remember the 4 faces we loaded and extracted from those images and stored in group of faces, that directory? Well, imagine this group of faces being your employee database. And what you do, every time you want to add someone new to that database, you just add a face here, and you can just use your same facial recognition code here to get the person out of it. All right. So it looks at the images here and identifies it based on any new image it sees in the webcam. It's going to match it back to one of those images here in group of faces. So let's take a look using the same similarity functions we defined, by the way, in case you guys are wondering. That threshold is defined here. Just put it at 0.35 just to be a bit more stringent and strict. But let's take a look and see how it works. All right. Hope it works. Usually things don't always work the first time. And there we go. So it says it's me. Let's move my microphone out of the way. All right, so this is pretty cool. It actually is working. Nice. It has a nice little arrow pointing at me. Now, if my wife or someone else who is like Jennifer Lopez or Lady Gaga were in the room here with me, it would actually identify them correctly. So you can actually see how cool this is. Imagine you have an office with all your pictures of employees, and you have different CCTV cameras that are like face level around the room. You don't want to have a top-down camera unless you use good top-down facial images to train it. But yeah, you can have it in that office and be picking up people's faces and tracking them all over the office, the whole building, if you wanted. So that would be pretty awesome, actually. So what about this? Can we train this to identify faces, in like a TV show? Like, let's look at the Friends TV show. So let's take a look at the folder called Friends. That's these guys here from the Friends TV show. You remember this from the 90s, very, very popular, and early 2000s, I believe. So these are the 6 main friends: Chandler, Joey, Monica, Phoebe, Rachel, and Ross. And we're going to now train this, or use this, to identify those characters in our video. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're just going to extract the faces out of it here and store it in this directory called Friends Faces. So let's run this, and then we get the face of each one of the 6. And those are the images that we're going to store in this directory called Friends Faces, okay? And then what we do is that we just run this. What I've done here, this is basically the same code that's kind of copied and pasted right here. But instead of using the webcam, I'm using video from the Friends TV show. So let's take a look and see if it works. All right, so that's pretty cool. So it identifies Joey, Chandler, Now, the reason why it's probably not detecting Chandler all the time is because our horror cascade classifier is sometimes missing it as a face, maybe because of the angle he's at. Let's see, got Monica correct right there. Ross and Phoebe, it's not detecting Rachel's face at the moment. Let's see if it does end up getting her face sometime. Okay, so it never ended up detecting Rachel's face. That's due to our horror cascade classifier being maybe not as sensitive as it should be, but it worked flawlessly for all the other characters, as you saw. So that's it for our facial recognition video using VGG Face. I hope you enjoyed this video. And now we're going to move on into a quick recap of this video and then introduce the next section of video. So just to quickly go over what we've learned how to extract faces from images and store those faces into a new folder. Then we've learned to actually use VGG Face on ourselves, or myself, or yourself, on your webcam. And then we learned to use VGG Face on a video, doing the similar method we did before, where we extracted faces from some actors and actresses and then ran a video as test sample video. And it actually worked quite well. It picked up all the faces that we needed to pick up in the video except for Rachel for some reason, but that was because of our facial detector, not our facial recognition system. So now let's move on to section 6. Section 6, we take a look at ImageNet, transfer learning, look at object detection, and even go into neural style transfers. So this is going to be pretty cool. So the next video is going to be based on pre-trained ImageNet models. So stay tuned.